Heck yeah. Welcome back to the Heat Check Podcast Live. It is July 17th, 2022. My name is Chris Patrick, and joined with me this evening is the one, the only Michael Benjamin. What up, sir?
Dude, we matched DA. What happens next? I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you carving out some time tonight so we can chat about what's going on and what we're seeing and end the weekend off right. You know, it was a good week. It was a good weekend for sure. So
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to figure out just what the heck is going on. We talked about trying to do this live stream. This is actually, I was looking back, this is the first live stream we've done since the end of June 30th. And then we did one Heat Check podcast that we got out this last week, but we keep waiting for the ball to drop on some offseason moves here, whether that's this trade with potential trade with Kevin Durant that we keep hearing about, or what is going to happen with Ayton. And so we kind of saw that, and yeah, really, I'm excited to kind of dive into that and see what you're thinking about it.
Oh yeah, that's surprising. We haven't done a live stream for like 3 weeks. That's wow. I feel like we were doing it consistently for, I don't know, about a month every week, but I know things happen. But yeah, exactly like you were saying, we were everybody's at a stalemate. Everything was speculation, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Waiting to see, okay, what kind of offers are the Nets getting for Kevin Durant? Well, who's gonna budge first, I guess? Who's playing the waiting game and who's really making the conscious effort to get their team better? And one thing I could say is, I mean, you could say that the Suns made their team better by at least bringing back a key piece like DeAndre Ayton. I know there was a whole bunch of rumblings about, well, what about a sign and trade? I think the big thing with DA was he wanted his contract. He wanted his max contract. I know he wanted his 5 years, 180 something mil. But he was sorely mistaken for what was out there for him waiting. And it seemed like everything kind of worked out for the Suns in their favor, because last year, if you remember, the Suns offered that 4-year max deal. They just didn't want to do 5 for flexibility, cap reasons, and didn't want to lock themselves down for, I guess, too many years. So it's still kind of all worked out with DA, how the Suns wanted it. It's just going to be a tough situation to see how both parties grow and really work together to start the season. Hopefully our relationships aren't too stretched too thin, and guys are going to be able to be professionals when they step into that building, and I'm sure they will. But DA is still a young guy, and it takes a lot to change your mentality about, hey, understanding that I'm a high profile athlete in this league, to, okay, what are the next things that I have to do to take that next step to become a true superstar and go places that people think that DA still can go. We've talked about how I think that he can be a perennial all-star. I don't see why not. He's basically a top 3 center in this league. His game keeps expanding. He keeps stretching his range. I know he's added a little bit on the 3-point arc. But he's just becoming a better player in the big man position. And, if you're not going to get Kevin Durant to start the season, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, he's going to have to be your number 2 option. It's time to start working the game plan around him, because he's getting the big boy bucks, and those big boy bucks should entail big boy numbers. So hopefully the Suns understand that, and I'm sure they do, but only time will tell.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it. That's what it's been, of a big waiting game. And right now it's speculation season. So literally everyone is just speculating. You've seen all the trade machines and everything. I think there's, you brought up a lot of really good points there. And I think there's a lot that we can dissect. And I hope I do a good enough job of reeling it in and not being too scatterbrained with it as I tend to be. But it's just like you said, hopefully they can pull it all together. And when you're paying a guy that much, I think is it 3 guys that we're paying over $30 million this year? It's Ayton, Booker, and Paul are all making over $30 million. So yeah, when you look at that, Ayton's got to be the second. You could say maybe third after Chris Paul, but really Chris Paul as the point guard, wanting to lessen the wear and tear and the minutes he's playing. I would think that would be the goal anyway. Is like, yeah, I would, like you're saying, Ayton should be that second option with Booker, where Monty adjusts the game plan accordingly. But at the same time, what do you think James Jones, or I'm wondering also almost, and maybe you can tell me, what do you think James Jones is cooking up in potentially trading Ayton in January 15th when he's eligible? Because it almost seems could be likely that we could keep him and it could work. We just as likely we keep him for 4 years than he gets traded this year. In my mind, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I know it was kind of some of the scenarios that we were talking about in regards to the full play for KD. I think things have really, really started to stall out in regards to kind of traction for a trade with him. From the different things that we're hearing is Brooklyn is really, really waiting to hear a package that is at least similar to something that the Jazz got for Rudy Gobert in regards to players who are assets right now and who can fit within your roster, as well as some draft picks. I don't know how highly they are on those, but we've heard the things about, okay, well, the Nets want back an all-star caliber player and somebody who is really kind of a key reserve guy. And what do the Suns have to really offer that? People will say that Mikal Bridges, you could probably start looking to put him into the category of potential all-star players. When you start getting yourself into the lists of, a best defensive player in the league or, all defensive teams, you start to put yourself within that upper echelon of players. So even though Mikal Bridges hasn't made an all-star team, and it's going to be tough for him anyways, because, the eyes are on those top 3 other guys anyways. But maybe the Nets see him as that, but what else do they have to give? Are they willing to take on Cam Johnson? Or do they want a Jay Crowder with an expiring contract? Are the picks that the Suns have to offer really not enough for them in regards to, well, the Suns are probably going to be good for the next couple of years anyways. They'll be drafting in the late 20s with whatever they get back. So,
right.
Unfortunately, the more and more
these aren't lottery picks.
Right. The more and more things are taking time and the days are going by, it's like, what's going to happen with KD? I'm still on the front that it's going to happen no matter what. I think some more people have come out and basically said he told the Nets organization he's not going to play for them. And it's Phoenix or bust. That's great for us.
Oh,
but
really?
It's still the Nets holding all the cards, They don't have to budge on anything. So if they basically bring him back into training camp and try and, I don't know, get the season flowing for a little bit, maybe that's when we start to see what will happen with a possible movement of DA around that January 15th trade deadline. Or that's when they can finally start to look to move him because of his contract extension. But like we've said in the past too, they're going to have to get a third team involved. And that's when maybe, you see a Donovan Mitchell being shipped over there with a Mikal Bridges. And some of those extra picks going to Utah, from what it sounds like, Danny Ainge is trying to kind of build that capital through the draft and rebuild for Utah. That's why Donovan Mitchell has finally kind of been stated to go onto the market. But I hope that there's a way that they can finagle this all to keep DA and bring in Kevin Durant at the same time. That would just be beautiful cherry on top kind of stuff. And obviously you're going to lose Mikal Bridges in that deal and whatever it happens. And it seems like now whatever is going to happen with KD, I don't know if it's a 3-team trade or if it's just straight up, then finally Brooklyn caves to take on those extra draft picks and assets. And he's going to be a guy that we're going to have to send because they need something that has true value back. as much as we'd love to keep him. But
you got to put yourself in the Nets' shoes, like, right? I'm seeing all these people on the Suns Reddit where they're asking, how can we still keep Mikal Bridges and get Durant? So basically, they're in their perfect world. We have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton starting day one. And it's just like, you just got to be realistic. Like, picks Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Dario Saric, like, is that enough? I don't think so. I think if I'm Sean Marks, it's Sean Marks, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, not Sean Marks. Yeah, it is Sean Marks. Yeah, if I'm Sean Marks, if I'm the Nets GM, I have to get something back, just like the Suns have to get something back. That's what let DeAndre Ayton to Indy, and that's why we didn't execute a sign and trade with them to get Miles Turner, because it's almost tit for tat. But we talked about, we both agree DeAndre Ayton's more talented and has more potential than Miles Turner. No offense to him, he's a big man, I'm sure, but I just worry that like I'm on the fence. Like, of course you don't want to pass up on getting a guy like Kevin Durant, but like, you got to think about at what cost at a certain time. And holy shit, I thought I just lost internet. Apparently there's a thunderstorm right now.
Yeah, you were definitely going in and out for a second. I
Can
was
you hear
wondering.
that?
I just heard
Oh,
it. Yeah,
man.
I was wondering if it was because I just tried to like kind of share my screen on just like some generalities from Google for DeAndre Ayton, and you started to kind of like like go in and out just a tad bit, and then your stream lagged, and I was like, oh man, is that because I'm trying to share my screen? And then as soon as I stopped sharing it is when that huge ass thunder came through. So
no, it should be able to handle it if you're sharing your screen. If you want to toss it up, but yeah, it was so weird. My second monitor like went black, and then it looked like everything was frozen. I don't know. Were you able to? What was the last thing I was talking about? I was talking about basically Miles Turner for DeAndre Ayton. We didn't find value in that, so you got to see this Nets perspective and like, would they see value with not getting Mikal Bridges back? I don't think so. And then to just one more point on that you got me thinking about, and I want you to kind of speak on, is with doing that, if we do have, if we send Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and all the picks, and maybe even if it's just that, and maybe even with or without Jay Crowder, then you're looking at Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, and then probably Crowder, or I don't know, Torrey Craig or Damian Lee starting in that final spot. But then what's your second unit? Like, looking at in here, this is what your second unit's looking like if they do like a hockey lineup swap. It would be Campaign, Landry Shamet, Josh Okogie or Damian Lee, Torrey Craig, and then Bismack or is that going to get us a secondary unit to get us into a deep playoff push? What do you got here?
I mean, it's I think it's enough guys to get you through the regular season to be, probably in a top 4 seed in the West, even with everybody getting stronger. But the one thing you always have to remember is when it comes down to the playoffs, you're talking about expanded minutes for your starters anyways. So Booker's going to be playing 38 minutes a night. Chris Paul you don't want to extend it too much. I mean, obviously he's been injury prone for the past 2 playoffs. But he's still probably going to see 35 minutes. KD's going to be stretching 38, 40, probably 42. Those major guys are going to be playing the majority of the minutes. So you only kind of have to trickle in your bench. Campaign will be on the floor for 10, 15 minutes to spell off Chris Paul, but he'll probably be on the floor with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant at the same time. If Booker has to go down, they'll probably stagger Durant and Booker, so you still have prolific scorers on the floor no matter what time's going on. I feel like Monty will be smart enough in regards to his, switching out of the bench and giving guys enough time to really get, camaraderie and making the right decisions. But yeah, I know that's what we've been talking about. And for a big thing for me was, well, what were we going to do at the center position if DeAndre Ayton is the piece that you have to, or one of the pieces that you're going to have to get rid of to bring in a Kevin Durant. Because I thought in order to get it done, it was going to have to be a 3-team deal, even though the Nets basically said he didn't want him. So was I comfortable with rolling out just Bismack Biyombo and Jock Landale? Probably not, but those guys are just kind of like space fillers, right? They're not going to be asked primarily to go and get you 12 points a night. They're going to be asked to do all the dirty work, get in there, rebound, block out the paint, contest shots. I'm not going to have to worry about them on the offensive end. They're almost like expendable guys that you could put in the corner, almost to the extent of PJ Tucker. Like he's been, it seems like he's a guy who's always on the wing, but at least he could shoot a 3.
Yeah.
Those guys can't. But the one thing that I still definitely worry about is longevity in regards to staying healthy for these guys. I mean, Booker and Chris Paul have both shown that during these playoff stretches, these past 2 years, they can't stay healthy. They both have had numerous amounts of injuries. I mean, at least for Booker, his injuries that he had in that run in 2021, it didn't hold him out, but, he broke his freaking face. And I know that he was dealing with that hamstring injury through the finals and stuff like that. And then we saw him miss time in round 1 here. And Chris Paul, same thing. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened, but we know that he wasn't the same player after that Pelicans series because he just maybe didn't have the same lift or was second guessing himself, because those things can get in the back of your mind, right? So is Kevin Durant have the healthiest bill of health either? No. So when you start expanding minutes in the playoffs,
he's definitely had his problems.
You still got to be worried about things like that. So that's why also, the things that we've been seeing with like the Utah Jazz, now that Donovan Mitchell has been added to the block, if he goes to Brooklyn, that helps with one of their conditions, basically, that they've been stating that they need an all-star caliber player back. And maybe the Suns can add in some other guys too. Like I think they've been talking about Jordan Clarkson and Bogdanovich, which are good guys off the bench. They would be very serviceable. I like Jordan Clarkson. He's a guy who can go off the dribble and go and create his own shot. I feel like that's something that the Suns have been missing from the second unit these past 2 seasons as well. Campaign did his best, but I still want him to be a guy is like a point guard, facilitating the team, taking his threes when he has his opportunities and whatnot. But I don't want him always trying to have to think that he has to look to create and drive and force up his crazy floaters and whatnot. Like I need a 2 guard or a small forward who can go and get his own bucket. That's what we needed. In that second unit. And Bogdanovich is a great shooter and he's a smart player. So obviously those are pipe dreams that we're still waiting to see come down.
Sure.
But with what you got right here, you're still going to have a serviceable team. Well, a more than serviceable team. It's going to be a contending team. And if you keep DA, I mean, the whole thing that we were talking about was DA was going to be gone. But now you have a 24-year-old all-star center, basically, to pair along with the big 3 of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul. I mean, I don't think there's anything that you could ask for that could be better. So.
Yeah, no, I think you make a lot of really good points there. I think, of course, you would have to you would want to stagger them. You wouldn't just have, hockey switches doing 5 in, 5 out, especially with, like we've talked about with Chris Paul, where he's a guy that with the amount of wear and tear he has, that he's got to kind of not be on like a number, like a minutes cap rather. But if they got a lead, I don't think they're going to keep him in. They kind of done that the last couple seasons with him, right? Like if in the second half they're up by a good margin, they'll just let Chris take the 3rd and 4th off, or like most of the fourth, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's basically just
mean,
for preservation, which is needed. I mean, the guy's 37 years old, man. In basketball years, that's that's a lot. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body, especially if you continue to make playoff pushes, and that's just a lot of basketball all at once. But so that's the other thing, right? I mean, I don't want Chris Paul playing more than 28 minutes a game, to be honest with you, during the regular season. Because if he's he's always hurt in the playoffs, man. Like he's used way too much of his body through the regular season, even on times when the Suns have big leads and he's out, whatnot. But you almost have to look at him and say, I have to have a hard cap on the amount of time that I give him for the first 6 months of the season. And that also comes down to
that's what I want to see. Is like,
go for it. You cut out a little bit.
Yeah, no, sorry. I didn't mean I stopped because you were both kind of, my connection's a little choppy here. But no, I think that's what they need to do, because we keep seeing Chris Paul being banged up late in these playoff runs. And so whatever they need to do to keep him healthy through 82. I know people aren't a big fan of like straight benching and like resting, but you do those on home games here and there when it's like, playing gimme games, getting his Veterans Day off if he wants. But yeah, they gotta, maybe you're right. Like I want you to continue, but like you're right. I think you're right on. They need maybe a minutes cap for Chris Paul, so he's not. That's what you're saying, right? So he doesn't get those injuries later in the season.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously easier said than done, right?
Of course, right. Yeah.
It's so hard to predict what kind of injuries guys are going to have. I mean, things always flare up, right? Guys are going to have some bum ankles, some sore knees, and a lot of guys will fight through that. But it's almost like the way that Kawhi has been managed the previous past couple of years before, he's had extended time off for his injuries because he was so prone. It's, he's hard capped on the amount of time that he was getting, and they were sitting him for entire games and whatnot. I'm not saying to sit Chris Paul. I mean, I don't think he's a guy that you need to do that, but you have to be really, really worrisome from what we've seen the past 2 seasons. And that's our only sample size that we have from the Suns. So it's what we have to go off of. Right. And
yeah,
he was such an important cog to specifically the offense and getting everybody into rhythm and getting DA going and whatnot, that when it came down to that second round series, he didn't have obviously something was off. So everything changed. So I have to have him as healthy as possible when it comes to the postseason. But that also means, and I know Matt's saying, I like campaigns change of pace. And it's great. There's still limitations to what he can do. I still go for it.
I just think he has those where he gets in there, but it just seems like he took a big step back last year, and he wasn't the guy that we had in 2020. But I don't know. Or was it 2020? I don't know. 21. It was 21. Yeah, I'm all backwards with the years. But I'm curious what's going to happen. It seems like there's a lot of question marks and things that are still unanswered. Yeah, how clear am I coming in right now? Is it pretty choppy on your end when I'm talking?
You're okay. You're okay right now, but when you started, it was super choppy for like the first 5 seconds.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, I don't know. I think more than anything, I think I just need a new computer because my internet should be fine. I'm hardwired into it right now too. It was funny. I have the desktop computer that we record the regular podcast on. And I had the idea, like I was like, oh shit, I'll set that up and that'll probably be better. And then I can record, I can do the live stream on that and it might be a little cleaner. And then it was like the one or two of the last ones we were going to do. And then right as I was about to start setting it up, I realized that I don't have a webcam. It's the one I'm using, the one built into my laptop. So I would have been kind of SOL. All right, you got something else here for us?
Yeah, can you pull this up real quick? So these are kind of the basically listed free agents in regards to the point guard position that are left on the market. You know, we've seen all these guys. Jalen Brunson got that crazy contract.
Yeah.
Gary Payton the second got a nice little bag from Portland. Ricky Rubio re-signed with Cleveland, whatnot. So your pickings are slim pickings now, right? I mean, when NBA free agency starts, it's always kind of a mad dash to get your guys. But then there's those other guys that have kind of just waiting in the background, trying to see how things pan out, and then make their decisions based off of how other pieces kind of go into the fold.
Sure.
But one of these guys that I've been seeing a lot from other people and who I'd really, really be interested to see the Suns take a stab at is Dennis Schroder.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's a serviceable guy. He's still a smart player. He's honestly not too old, if I'm mistaken. He's 28 years old. I mean, he's a veteran in this league. He's shown that he can score in bunches. And it's another guy that's on the market right now, right? So instead of waiting for what you can see happens in regards to a Kevin Durant trade, if we get extra pieces from a different team or what else we get back, you got to start thinking about filling out this roster with what you have right now, especially if Brooklyn holds the line and doesn't trade him until, hopefully around the January 15th timeframe, when all these things kind of go into motion a little bit more. You got to start thinking about bringing in guys for that second unit that can kind of go and get buckets for you.
So
Campaign is he'll be a fan favorite. He's serviceable, but you can show up at the point guard position because extra time to down his and work towards the playoffs, which is where you really need him. So that's my Dennis Schroder spiel, or my pitch.
Your pitch. If you were with James Jones in an elevator, that's what you would give him for Dennis Schroder. There are two names that caught my eye on that list. One of them kind of a meme. The other one kind of made me raise an eyebrow. The first one, I'll give you the meme first. Eric Bledsoe is a free agent point guard. So, and I'm just thinking, because it got me thinking, because I was actually looking at that same list that you were there on Sports Tack or whatever the website was. And so I'm really glad you brought it up. Great minds think alike. But so I was thinking, what got me thinking that in that direction is that if we do have to give up, 2-3 players and a bunch of picks for just Kevin Durant, and that's the only player we get in return, obviously we're going to have to tap into that free agent market and get one of those guys. Even with or without that move, I think Dennis Schroder, you sold me on that pretty well. If we can afford it. I don't know what kind of contract he's looking to garner. I know we're already going into that luxury tax. And the reports were out this week from various credible sources, Flex and Gambo from 98.7. Well, Flex isn't from 98.7, but Gambo's from 98.7. But regardless, they were saying that the reports are that the I don't want to say verified rumor, or maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but they were said the word on the street, if you will, was that Sarver is willing to shell out $60 to $100 million for the luxury tax. And I think it's important to note that this is the first time the Suns will be paying the luxury tax since 2010. I think that's right. But so how much can they go over that? And like I said with Dennis Schroder, how much is he willing to give up? Is he willing to take just a 1 year, prove it deal so he can get back get some tape, get back, maybe sign another deal somewhere else next season? Or will he come to a term with a 3 year, $45 million something. I don't know. I don't know what they're looking to pay him. So that's my meme pick, right? Was Eric Bledsoe, and we can just throw that away. He's at a salon or something. My eyebrow raising free agent out there that I think could be a good fit in this team, especially if we get a guy like KD, would be Blake Griffin. I believe he's still a free agent. Of course, he's another guy that's got some miles on him, but I think he's only in his early 30s. He's not that old, if I'm not mistaken. Or is he like 36?
No, he's not.
He's 33. He just turned 33 this year. Okay. So he's pretty, he's a big guy that's got some wear and tear for sure, but he's got that rapport with Chris Paul. I don't know what kind of terms they went out on in Los Angeles, but I don't think, they're both guys in their 30s. I think they can be mature enough to come together if they thought it was something that could result in a championship. Yeah. And I think Blake Griffin, like 33, with as many teams as he's been on, as much money as he's made, he might be a guy that would be willing to take a 1-year flyer if he believed in what the Suns were doing. Kind of a la JaVale McGee last year. But those were the two names that really caught my eye. That's a good catch by you, Dennis Schroder. I would definitely shy away from guys like Rajon Rondo. I think I saw him on that list. That's a guy who's really a one-trick pony. He'll play some pretty solid defense, and he can pass the ball, but he will not get you a bucket. Rajon Rondo will not get you a bucket.
Yeah, not really much anymore. I remember his Boston Celtics days. He was almost kind of like, you'd always have to put him on triple-double watch, right?
Yeah.
He's never really been a prolific scorer, but he was a good enough athlete where he could go and get his when he needed to. Holy crap, dude. Blake Griffin was not even in my universe of thought. I actually don't hate that at all. From what we've seen the past couple of seasons too, when he went to the Nets, he averaged about 18 minutes a game. That's what you would probably need from him if he's going to be part of your rotation. Still a big body guy. His game has changed so much from when he first came into the league as a super high flyer, and now he's locked in his shooting abilities, and he'll do the dirty work for you. So I don't hate that. Imagine if you bring in KD too. This is a guy who was just played with KD and also has that relationship with Chris Paul. I'm always willing to take flyers on guys who can help mesh a locker room together a little bit faster, right? And you do bring up a good point about, well, what happened with Los Angeles and how did that relationship end? I think these guys are smart enough to understand that they're looking for their kind of last-ditch effort to go and fight for a championship. So they'll put all that BS to the back burner and really focus on locking in. So I don't hate that. Eric Bledsoe, I hope he never steps foot in the Valley of the Sun again. I just remember our favorite thing with him when we would go to games. He was you could count on him driving the lane and jumping up with no option to shoot, but he'd always leave his feet and have to throw the fucking craziest passes. Yeah, and he turned the ball over like a madman. Yeah, I don't think he's like that anymore. But no, he's too limited. He doesn't have enough to him. I'm thinking about guys who could come in and give you a scoring punch, because that's what the second unit's going to need. Hopefully Landry Shamet, will give you his 9 points a game from his 3 threes. That's all he does. Who else are you going to get buckets from? Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig didn't seem like he could hit water if he fell out of a boat when he came to the Suns last year. So I'm looking for extra scoring.
He was not the same player. Yeah.
For a second there, I thought you were about to say Isaiah Thomas, and I was like, "Where are we going with this, Chris? Isaiah Thomas?
No,
I don't."
Nah.
I should have gave you more credit than
Thank
that.
You.
So I do apologize. But you did bring up some good points there for sure. Blake Griffin, man, he's a dope guy.
And there were rumors of him coming here. He used the Suns to leverage his deal with the Clippers back in the day.
Yeah.
So he's teasing us, but it's always a fucking tease, man. Like the fact that we got Chris Paul is mind-boggling to me in a lot of ways. But that's just goes to show how I think the perception of Phoenix as a small market is changing a lot because the Suns are pretty much the team in the Valley. And there's a lot of people here now that have grown up with the Suns, and that arena has no problem selling out. There's a lot to be said for that. But aside from all of that, the city aside, Devin Booker is someone that people want to play with. And then now you add Chris Paul to that mix. So it's no surprise that a guy like Kevin Durant would put us on the top of his list. And I think about that with those two guys in particular, and then with Blake Griffin, I'm pretty sure Blake played on. Did he play on the Olympic team with Booker, or was that a previous Olympic team?
No, I think he played on the Olympic team probably like 2016.
Okay, but that still probably would have been with Durant at least.
I think it was
Paul.
I think it was with Durant and Paul.
Yeah.
So here's another thing to keep in mind. Didn't Blake Griffin date Kendall Jenner?
I think he did.
Okay, so that just came up in my mind too.
But Ben Simmons and Blake Griffin. Oh, I guess they didn't play together.
Ben Simmons didn't even step on the floor. It's a new argument.
Fair enough. But
I'm sure they don't care. They'll just swap stories about where was the craziest places that they
and I think I think Book, he dated her for a year or two or whatever. But I think pretty sure Blake Griffin was just with her for a couple months.
Was it?
And that was a while back. I don't know. I'm not keeping up with
the Kardashians.
Entertainment Tonight, or keeping up the Kardashians. Yeah, there you go. Fuck, blew that opportunity. But fuck, there are two more. Well, there's a ton of Suns related topics that I had in my head, but these were two that were pressing for me. One, the Josh Okogie signing is a little bit of a head scratcher for me. Kind of taking a step back and looking at it, because at first I didn't hate it because I'd heard the name recently. I haven't watched him play, but this is gonna sound really nerdy, but I had him on my team on 2K. Okay, he was on my team in 2K, and he was a decent support player in the video game. A two guard that could play some defense and get some buckets if he's open. But I was thinking about it more today and kind of doing the most minimal amount of prep work for this live stream. And his last couple, he's been in the league for 4 years. He was drafted in 2018. Been with the Timberwolves. He played 49 games last season. So these are his last 4 seasons. Points per game. In his rookie year, he averaged 7.7 points. 19-20 season, which was the COVID year, I believe, that shut everything down. Regardless, anyway, he was 8.6 points per game. That was his best season, his sophomore year. And then since then, the third year, 5.4 points per game. And then last year, like I said, in 49 games, was just 2.7 points, averaging 10.5 minutes per game. So, Mike, tell me if you know anything about Josh Okogie. I don't know if he was just underutilized by Minnesota and he is a talented guy, or are we just getting some garbage heap bench filler guy, and he's never going to sniff the court?
Yeah, this one was an intriguing signing. I think there was a lot of different aspects that kind of went into it. From what I was hearing, I mean, he was a first round pick. He was 20th overall. I think those second and third years, he started primarily for the Timberwolves. I don't know if he had some injury problems. That's why he wasn't able to get to 82 games. Yeah. But he was primarily a guy who was your primary on-ball defender or wing defender against, the best offensive guy on the other team. Obviously, he can't shoot threes very well. And I think what happened last year was he lost favor to, kind of those guys that were taking the next step or who had come in. D'Angelo Russell, was getting
Anthony
more run.
Edwards.
Anthony Edwards was starting to come into his own, starting to make, a case for himself being an all-star next year, which I wouldn't be surprised to see. But he just kind of fell out of the rotation for the wings. And I think primarily it was because he was kind of more one-sided, right? He was just seen as a wing defender, which is good, but you don't need him in high spurt or high amounts of time on the floor, right? You put them in there to give guys, like if you have Mikal Bridges on the floor, give him a little bit of break, because my goodness, the guy plays 46 minutes a night. That'd be another guy that I know he's young and he's an Iron Man, but if you can switch in guys like a Josh Okogie to handle the primary ball handler or the best wing defender for 10 minutes a night, I mean, that's something that you can pay your veteran minimum for and not even second guess it. I mean, hopefully he can knock down a couple of corner threes when he has his opportunities, but that's not what he's being asked to do. So I guess long-winded answer is, yeah, maybe he might be a one-trick pony, but I think the big thing as well was he's brought in because of the probability that Mikal Bridges is going to have to be shipped in any kind of Kevin Durant trade that comes about. So you want a guy who can fill in and be a really, really good defender for you. The one thing that I see, which makes sense on why he's such a good defender, is he's only 6'4", but he has a 7-foot wingspan.
I mean, yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
You're getting into the passing lanes like nothing else. He can tap the ball away from guys on the floor just with that long stretch. So I think that was a big thing. And obviously the pieces that we were seeing brought in before, the re-signing of DA was pieces that are going to help you through the regular season and maybe get you a couple of minutes during the postseason if needed. But you're all focused in on Kevin Durant. So those guys are literally just filler pieces to make sure that you have a good structure around your team for the regular season. Because, Damian Lee will get 20 minutes a night. Jock Landale will probably get like 15, 20 minutes, Well, actually, now that DA's back, maybe not. He might get Frank Kaminsky numbers, but there'll be nights where he'll get more run. But yeah, we'll have to see what comes about with Josh Okogie, especially if Mikal Bridges is shipped away and how he fits in. Hopefully, he can work on his offensive side of the game. I don't need him to score like crazy. Exactly. We've talked about this before.
And that might
Those
be
big three guys are getting us 80 points a night. So anything else that you can get from your reserves is cherry on top. But it's an interesting signing. It's been interesting to see what they've done. There's a method to the madness. So
yeah. No, I believe it. And maybe you can pull it up real quick, or I can try to. The Damian Lee numbers too. Because I think that's another guy that I wonder how many minutes he's going to get, because it seems like last season Landry Shamet was Monty's go-to guard off the bench, where you would a lot of times see him coming in for Booker or Paul, either or guy, and get significant minutes. I'm pretty sure Shamet did, especially in the playoff run and well, not the finals, obviously, this last season, but yeah. So this Damian Lee, I was seeing, I think this might start being a trend on these live streams where I talk about, we might need to create a segment like things I saw on Reddit. Because I saw, I think it was either on the Warriors Reddit or like a screenshot in the Suns Reddit from the Warriors Reddit, some Inception shit. But anyway, basically saying a lot of Warriors fans were like, oh, good riddance, like have fun with Damian Lee. Like he's kind of a guy that'll put bricks up on the wall for you. I don't know a lot about Damian Lee, so maybe this is another guy you can speak on. But from what I understand, he's kind of like a 3-point shooter, or he just likes to put a lot of shots up. I don't know about his defensive prowess necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think I know too much about Damian Lee in regards to everything in his game. It looks like he shoots an okay percentage. I mean, 2 years he had almost 40% from deep. Averaged
Okay.
a decent amount. 2017 it seemed like, or 2019 seemed to be his best year. I mean, take that with a grain of salt. That was also the years where I'm pretty sure the Warriors were dog shit. So, the next season they ended up having the second pick in 2020, which was James Wiseman. So he was getting extended run, but they weren't winning.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just, a guy who is, what you have. He's going to be a serviceable backup wing guy. It's another same thing where it's like you got to bring in somebody because we're probably going to have to ship away a good amount of our wings, right?
Yeah.
So you got to roll out the red carpet for someone. But he's played for a championship team. He knows what it takes to get there, and he's not going to be a slouch when he's here with the Suns. I'm excited to add him into the fold and see what he can bring. But
Yeah.
other than that, I can't say that I know too much about him, because if I don't have to watch the Warriors, I'm not watching them. So it's just as
Yeah.
simple as that.
No,
So
that's fair. Well, what were his, I can't really see here on my screen. What were his numbers last year? Just like points, rebounds.
so he looked like he averaged just about 20 minutes a game, 7.4
That's
points, 33% from 3, so it did go down a bit, but then about 3.2 rebounds, 1 assist. Those, what is it, ancillary stats don't
yeah.
really hold weight too much. Like,
No.
obviously he's not a point guard, his assists aren't going to be too big, and then your
Mm-hmm.
defensive stats are just kind of like you get what you get. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just looking at his Wikipedia page. I mean, the fact that he played 20 minutes a game for the team that won the championship is pretty impressive. But he was undrafted out of Louisville in 2016. He's a lot older than I would have thought. He's 29. He'll be 30 in October. So definitely got some experience in a lot of ways, because just because you're not playing for an NBA team doesn't mean you're not getting basketball experience and you're not, developing your game. So it looks like he spent some time in the D League for the Maine Red Claws and the Santa Cruz Warriors, then was on the Hawks in 2018, and then was with the Warriors for the past 4 years. It looks like he was on like a two-way contract for a portion of that time, though. So it looks like from what I can tell, looking at it, he bounced back and forth. But yeah, like you said, he was an NBA champion in college, all first team or all second team ACC, and then first team all CAA. I don't know what that is, but he has accolades is what I'm basically what I'm getting at. So this is a guy who can play basketball. So obviously, if you're in the NBA, you're there for a reason. But I'm interested to see how much time they get, how much incorporation they get. Maybe Damian Lee, maybe they lost a little faith in Landry Shamet, and so maybe he takes a little bit of a back seat, and he's the third string guy. I mean, at the website I'm looking at right now, it has Damian Lee listed as the third string shooting guard, if that's a thing in the NBA. But like I was alluding to earlier, Cam Payne kind of took a step back last year from the year before, so I want to see him get back into form from what he showed us, and prove that it wasn't just a fluke. Because if we got a bunch of guys out there being tryhards, that's honestly exactly what we need. I guess while we're breaking down the new hires here, do you want to look at Jock Landale before we move on? I got one more Suns topic we can hit on.
Oh yeah,
and of course, Mike, if you got anything, bring it up. I'm just on a roll here.
Oh no, you go. This is perfect. I
know nothing about
how long. I was gonna say. Let's see. I know he was with the Spurs. It looks like that was his first year. He went to St. Mary's. I like those St. Mary's guys. I think one of my all-time favorite like hustle guys who played in the NBA from St. Mary's. I'm pretty sure it was Matthew Dellavedova. So
Oh, no way.
for a long time, St. Mary's and Gonzaga were kind of like on that's like threshold of taking a next step and being like a power program in the NCAA. But Gonzaga has taken that next one. Or St. Mary's has always been good, and they continue to be good, but they're just kind of a step behind from Gonzaga. But anyways, looks like Jocelyn Dell played about 54 games last year, only averaged 10 minutes. So he's probably your, third string backup center. Didn't shoot crazy from outside, but did put up a good amount. I mean, he almost shot 100 threes in 54 games. I mean, that's him putting up almost 2 per game. So
big man can shoot.
Obviously, he's not shy on putting it up. But I mean, from what I see here, I can't really get a judgment out of his stats. I mean, they're basically what you're going to see from a guy who plays 10 minutes a game. But he's a big body, 6'11", 255. From the highlights that I did see from him, he is really a traditional big body center. Like that's his game. It's a little bit slower. He has some good touch in the paint. He has his post-up game. So he's going to be a guy who probably we're seeing the same things. He gets about 10 minutes a game. Bismack Biyombo is going to get the majority of those backup center minutes. And hopefully what he can bring to the floor is a little bit serviceable. I mean, we were definitely kind of spoiled last couple of seasons with what Frank Kaminsky came in and did a couple of times, where he had crazy scoring outspurts. I think that Portland Trail Blazers game, he had 30-something, 36 maybe, and just went crazy. But I don't think we're going to see the same thing from Jock. He's a younger guy, so he's going to have some more upside. 26 years old, but
sure,
just another filler, right? Nothing that's going to wow you, but it's something that you need to build the roster out and have, once you're playing those 4 games in 7 nights, a guy who might get a little bit more time. Maybe he gets 25 minutes that night because Bismack needs a little bit more rest, or, we're playing the Pacers. It's funny that I bring that up. We're playing the Pacers and we can run Jock Landell out there for 25 minutes because we're beating the brakes off of him. So
yeah, which very likely will happen because they got nobody. Tyrese Halliburton, I guess. And there were I know there were the report out there that Ayton was excited to play in the pick and roll with Tyrese Halliburton. Whatever, that could just be bluster coming out of his camp. But man, could be 3 interesting guys. It's gonna be you never know with Monty, because for fuck's sake, what was it? Abdul Nader. I would have never, when you hear Sun sign Abdul Nader, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's just warming benches. He's handing Booker towels as he's coming off the court. But no, he gets minutes in the playoffs when he hasn't played all season, apparently. I mean, I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to be shy to say it over and over again. I'm not a fan of Monty Williams. I'm not. I think he's done pretty good with this. He's obviously done good with this team. He got us to the finals. He got us to the playoffs 2 years running. But you got to give a lot of that to the players too. And there's a lot of moves that he makes that I just scratch my head on. And there's a lot to be said for having faith in your guys. I've said that on this podcast before, but sometimes Monty trusts them. He lets too much slack on the leash, I think. And so maybe he'll turn it. Maybe his philosophy will change, or maybe he's make some adjustments. But I think there's a lot of thinking that Monty's going to have to do for this game plan for this season. Because what the fuck, man? You have all this tension of, and I'm sorry, I'm swearing right now, but my goodness, I'm just scratching my head because Monty said all these things that I nitpick on, but then on top of that, the optics of how the season ended with him and Ayton kind of being not on the same page, and the Suns organization signaling that they didn't value Ayton as much as they're paying him, and they challenged him to go find out, what he could get on the open market, and whether the Pacers just threw that contract at him to call the Suns bluff or what, knowing that the Suns weren't going to take nothing in return. Like maybe tried to offer Miles Turner and whoever else they thought the Suns could be, and the Suns were just like, no, by no means are we going to be doing that with you. You have nothing to offer us that we want. And so they were like, all right, well, fuck you then. We're going to offer him the max and make you match it. Like, who knows? That could be it. But what I'm getting back to my point, before I toss it over to you to tell me why I'm wrong. I'm curious to see what Monty draws up with these additions we've made, and now with keeping Ayton at least until January 15th. At the very least, we got until January 15th. And did you know that I want to make in here? Am I lagging?
You lagged it for a second, yeah. Try it again.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't lagging when I make this very important. Good. Okay, perfect. I want to make sure I didn't lag when I made this very important point. So we keep saying January 15th, but the Suns can't trade him unless he signs off on it for one whole year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be in January. Is the relationship so soured that he's just willing to go play anywhere else? Or does he look at the team and be like, okay, we're third, fourth place in the West. Looks like we're trending towards the playoffs. I don't want to get shipped out to the Pacers that are the fourth worst team in the NBA this season. Like, I changed my mind on that. I'm making my money. I'd rather play for a winner, but I don't know. Look, do you have faith in Monty that he will be able to mend that relationship and put together a game plan where everyone can move forward as professionals and get that product flowing?
Yeah. Oh man, dude, you bring up just like a great amount of points here that I'd love to dive into. The first thing is basically what you were basically talking about, how Monty trusts his guys. It's a well-known fact that if you get into his good graces, it seems like he's going to give you extended run where it might even seem like you don't deserve it. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that Damian Lee might be kind of that guy this year, right? So he might get more extended minutes. I mean, there might be times where, I don't know, a couple of guys go out and he's the one who's picked in favor to be a starter. You're asking a guy to change who he is at his core, right? A family man, a stand-up guy who preaches, what is it? Well done is better than well said. Which is funny because he trusts these guys who haven't really like shown that they've done that great, right? Either than what they say is good. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Damian Lee fills in that Abdul Nader role, but hopefully he can be a better shooter and contribute a little bit more. So I'd take that. Do I trust him? Another good question. I think I have to say yes. It's the same way that we're kind of in the trajectory of what happened with Mike D'Antoni in those mid 2000s Suns teams. He brought you to a place that you hadn't seen in a very long time. I mean, this team hadn't been in the playoffs for over a decade. So we're waiting for something that is showing, a sense of promise in winning. And he's able to get that with the team that we built. And it started going back to the bubble. So I trust him to an extent, but just the same way with what happened with Mike D'Antoni was he was stretching guys so thin, his bench was so small that by the time the Western Conference Finals came rolling around, guys were dead
gassed.
Had no more energy to give and had nothing left on the table. So we ran out of steam and ended up falling short. So is that the same? And I'm not saying that that's the same thing that's going to happen with Monty, but those small things like what you bring up as well could get you to a point where you start to second guess his decision making. Is the relationship going to be salvageable? It fucking better be.
It's got to be, right?
This guy to 4 years at a max extension. The first thing that probably should have been happening was after the Suns matched that contract to DA, Monty Williams should have been calling DeAndre Ayton, sharing congratulations, right? If I'm that kind of a head coach that understands that at this moment in time, this is a key part of your team that you have to keep building within the game plan for, and is going to be a key component for your success, at least for the next 4 years, because we don't know what's happening with Kevin Durant. We don't know what's happening with all this other stuff. You can only work off of what you have now. If I'm Monty Williams, I'm calling DeAndre Ayton. I'm sending him freaking chocolates and flowers, saying congratulations, playing the Post Malone song in the background, and freaking popping bottles for the young fella, saying, hey, congrats, you deserved it. Now let's take that next step together. That's what a smart professional would do. And I think Monty Williams is that kind of guy. Obviously, when you've gone to a certain level in regards to success, like making it to the NBA Finals and being 2 wins away from a championship, and to have such a disappointing end the next season after you've seen what success was and been so close, guys are going to be upset and guys are going to have something to say. And that's just the competitive nature coming out in those kind of players. I understand it. Is there maturing that has to happen on both sides? Absolutely. I can't pinpoint who needs to mature more. One would lean more towards DeAndre Ayton just because of how young he is. But at the same time, like, optics are everything, man. When you see the coach and the player fighting on the sideline during a 40-point blowout loss, like, that's not a good look, especially going into a contract summer. So there's a lot of different questions that go into it, and you think, can it be salvaged? And I hope it can, because it has to be. And the last thing too is that trade, that no wave trade clause that's built into that contract is going to be intriguing as well, because if all of this stuff doesn't come to fruition, the relationship can't be mended, and we're trying to ship him out for, probably at that point, what is pennies on the dollar comparative to what we can get for him. Hopefully he works with the Suns a little bit and gives back to what started his career. But I mean, it's business is business, right? He doesn't really owe anything to us, but it's hard to say. But then I don't know. Here's the other thing too. The reportings of the offer sheet being sent to DA and his camp came out at, I don't know, like 1 or 2 o'clock. Then it officially wasn't signed until like 5 or 6 maybe. And then there was reports that the Suns matched it like in 5 minutes. So
yeah, I heard that.
Is that a case of this was always the matter of fact that they were going to let DA test the market, and no matter what he got, they were always going to match him because they want him back? Or was it some more kind of sinister stuff where it's like, bro, we offered you the 4-year max last year and you gave us the middle finger. Good luck, and go check it out. And guess what's going to happen? The same shit.
That's what you're going to get.
And we're going to sign you immediately. And then we're going to ship your ass eventually and just deal with it for these 6 months. Because we know, like, we don't want to be a part of both parties don't want to be a part of this, but we can't let you walk away scot-free without any assets.
Well, no, because he was our number 1 overall pick. You can't let that walk for nothing. That would be an embarrassment for the franchise.
Exactly. So it's who knows? There's just still so many unknowns. Like, I hope that they've started to make the right progression to mending that relationship, because he's a part of this franchise right now.
Yeah.
If you're going to roll into next season without a Kevin Durant, he has to be your number 2 option. You have to start building the game plan around him a little bit more and let him take that next step, because Chris Paul he's just not it, man. I can't count on him. I need 25 points a game from DeAndre Ayton every single night, because I can't count on the longevity of Chris Paul. I need to be able to trust DeAndre Ayton that he's going to be my number 2 option and get me consistent double-doubles, not the 16 and 10. That's baby back bullshit, man. That's rookie numbers for a number 1 overall pick. I understand.
Yeah.
It's year what, 5 now?
I
It's
think
it's
it's something like that.
it's time to cement yourself as an all-star on an all-star platform and a guy who got max money. That's what it comes down to. But the Suns also have to understand that as well. I know that you might be trying to play the long game. It might not be working. It just works out beneficial for both parties too, because if he's a dog the first half of the season and is freaking averaging 23 and 13, like that's just an easy asset to sell when it comes down to the time frame that it has to be. So if both parties are smart, they'll mend the relationship and get to work. That's it. That's it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 100%. And I believe they can do it because, like you said, Monty at the end of the day is a smart guy. Chris Paul is a smart guy. They know everyone at a certain point in time realizes that it's a business, and you can't be naive about that. It's a business for the organization and it's a business for the players. It's crazy though. Like DeAndre Ayton, yeah, I think everyone's just gonna have to suck it up and be mature about it. And DeAndre Ayton is, we say that, but he's only 23, gonna be 24 this season. And you're right, it is his 5th year in the league. And the best season he had was 2019-20, 2020. But granted, it was only in 38 games. But he had 18.2 points and 11.5 rebounds per game. So like you said, that's a double-double. You can pat yourself on the back all you want, but when you're making $30 million a year as a center, you have to be scoring 20, 25 points a game every game. And
it's absolutely
at least 11.5 rebounds. Yeah. Honestly, he should be grabbing way more rebounds. He should be able to get 15 rebounds a game. I don't know if that's possible to average that through a season. 11.5 is pretty good, but that was his best season, and that was 2 years ago. So that's beyond the point. I hope he does continue to progress, and that they do, like you've kind of alluded to, have him be the second or third option where he's really, or even I think you're like just saying second option, like Booker. The pecking order would be Booker, Ayton, and then Paul, because Paul is not getting any younger and unreliable, and especially unreliable when it comes to his health. But we've seen him do that type of shit where he'll be knocking down the mid range and getting the layups at the rim all day long, and then other games where he can't like hit water if he jumped out of a boat, like to use the same metaphor you used earlier. But
yeah,
I'm just
my thing is when it comes down to, okay, what does the touches look like, right? If you're a second option and you're a big man, it's not just dumping down the ball to him maybe 5 times a game, and then the other plays are getting him into the pick and roll and seeing if you can get a lob to him to finish down low or get him into a good position to get into his post-up game and whatnot. I'm talking about 15 to 20 possessions on the offensive end, coming down and force feeding the motherfucking ball to the kid. Like literally spacing the floor, getting some action going, couple passes, and then the last action is dumping the ball into DeAndre Ayton down low and literally letting him go to work. Like that's what a second option is. It's the same things that we see from like a Joel Embiid standpoint, where they run action and then post him and get the ball into the post. And if he turns and faces up, then he goes off the dribble, or he takes a couple dribbles, step back jumper, or he muscles guys down into the post and makes it freaking ham sandwich on kids, man. Like there's a reason Joel Embiid almost averages 30 points a night. It's because they force feed him the ball. That's what you have to do if you're going to get DeAndre Ayton involved. It's not just these, oh, hopefully the lob works on this time. Hopefully he has enough energy to, really hustle and get to the basket for a proper position and whatnot. It's if you're going to be a number 2 option and you're going to be a big man, you have to you almost have to force feed him the ball. I know I've said it a bunch of times, but I don't care. I have to make that a point. I have to make that a point because the way that Chris Paul dribble drives and slows down and then takes his 15 to 18-foot jumpers is the way that he gets his possessions. The way that DeAndre Ayton's isn't going to be the same. It's not going to always be running action off of pick and rolls or dumping him the ball on the high post. Like it's you run some guys here, there, whatnot. Then you space the floor enough, hopefully, to give him a one-on-one matchup, and then you go and see if you get your money's worth. Like,
well, but this is what
easy, man.
Mike, right here, this is what you get when you force feed Ayton in the paint.
I'll take those odds. Look at it looks like 5 guys are rolling in right there, but there's a lot of space there. It's kind of like
it is choppy.
It's a little bit.
Let me see. So he misses that floater, tries to poke it back, and misses again, and then just we'll let Jalen Brunson get that board.
Hey, well, I mean, touch is touch. It comes. I like his touch. He's definitely gotten better with his floater game and whatnot, and those misses are going to happen for sure. But at least there's a second option. Like, dude, how many times do I have freaking tip backs and misses when we're out there playing? And at least I get them on the second try. It's better than not having another one. But
yeah, you do. I mean, that's going to happen, but you're right at the rim. What I'm saying is, like, what I want to see, if we're going to dissect this footage and play Monday morning quarterback, you see, I can't really make out these figures because the quality is really bad, but I think that's Jalen Brunson, maybe Dorian Finney, some other players here. But so look right here. He has his pivot foot planted. I'm going to play a little bit. Oh, wait, no, I should drag. Buffer. Okay. So right here, why can't he step through right here and have this whole area to just, I'm not saying he has to go up strong and slam it. I know everyone seems to think that DeAndre Ayton can just be prime Shaq and just slam on everyone's head, but he should be able to turn and get a better look than the floater he gets here, where he instantly turns and chucks it up there. Why doesn't he take a step in? He still has his pivot foot. Just take the step in. But instead, he does this quick little bunny hop maneuver. Why? I don't know. Like I said, that's nitpicky. That's some Monday morning quarterback shit. But that's just a small sampling of what we've seen a ton from DeAndre Ayton, is the non-aggressiveness and that type of soft approach to where, like, I agree with you. You need to feed Ayton, and I think Cody even made this point that he needs to be spoon-fed the buckets, apparently, where Chris Paul literally has to lead him straight to water to drink, where you can't just feed it to him in the post. He can't hit 2 back down maneuvers and get a bucket, because he'll throw up one out, 50-50. He'll either clank it on a hook shot or he'll sink a nice pretty hook shot. And that's like, and then we're almost getting back to the Eric Bledsoe days, because how many times were we at those games where I'm screaming at Eric Bledsoe on the drive and it was 50-50 when he does his maneuvering? Is the layup going to go in or is it going to clank? And that's how I feel when I watch DeAndre Ayton throw up his hook shots from 10, 15 feet out. I don't know. Am I being nitpicky here, or?
No, I mean, the thing that you always hope for is when you play with a Hall of Fame point guard like Chris Paul, is that he's going to elevate your guys to the next level, which he absolutely has done with DeAndre Ayton. I mean, DA has even came out and said that Chris Paul has taken him to the next level, and that's great. But also, you can't learn without going through it, right? And a lot of his possessions, he's not having to create for himself that often, right? So if you don't have enough practice on that aspect, when it comes to the games and whatnot, you're kind of going to be a little bit limited in what is in your bag and what you can get done. On that one, when he turns to do his little post hook, that's like scared shit, right? That's the stuff that he needs to start taking the next step with, right? He's so big when he makes that turn. If he's where guys are positioned, that shot doesn't have to immediately be right there. You could put a post fake and then take that one step with that right foot and basically finish at the rim, right? That comes with time. That comes with knowledge. That comes with playing as a veteran. I get it. But it's also like, dude, like, you paid this guy so much money. What up, Royce? You paid this guy so much money. Like, I have to start expanding his game. I can't just be like, well, he plays great in the pick and roll game with Chris Paul and what he's done in spurts on his, 18 to 20 foot game off of swing passes and whatnot. He needs to start expanding his game as well, because Chris Paul's not going to be here forever either.
No.
And if you want to be a number 2, number 1 option, I mean, max guys I see as they should probably be number 1 options, right? You have to continuously add more to your game. And you only get that through, putting fuel to the fire and throwing them out there. And I guess when it comes down to that is I don't hesitate to say do it to him, because I've seen that he does have good touch, and he's definitely gotten better in his outside game, in his shooting ability. And I'm not talking about the 3-point game. I'm talking about the 20-foot jumper that he can put up and be unconscious with, that you don't even hesitate when he puts it up. I'm like, that's probably a 70% shot right there that I think it's going to go in. And that's better than most guys, right, in this league.
Honestly.
And it's just going to take time. And obviously it sucks because you're staying year 5. It's like, well, how does he not know to not have to take that floater right there and to take that extra step through? It's also easier said than done when it comes to the feel of the floor, right? Because we can see the tape and it looked like all 5 guys were condensing on him all at once, but he had a lot of space to turn and finish. Well, if you're in the game and you're DeAndre Ayton, all you might see is he might get the ball and turn, and he sees 1 defender, 2 defender. By the time he turns to shoot, there's the 3rd one, and he's like, oh, I don't have much space.
I'm surrounded
now. I'm surrounded, right?
Yeah.
So, but that also comes down to, and I know that we've had these conversations when he first started in the league, where it seemed like he wants to be a finesse player, right? He wants to have his pretty floaters and his pretty jumpers and whatnot, and his pretty spin moves and stuff. It's the guy's too big not to impose his fucking will on a nightly basis and let guys know that you're not going to push me around. I'm going to push you around. And that's another next step that he has to take.
I don't think anyone's told him that he's as big as he is, and he doesn't know it yet.
Which is crazy, because it seems like he played different at U of A than he has when he's coming to the NBA. And he's still bigger than freaking everyone.
Right. I think it's got to be a mental block, right? Like when you come up through AAU and college and you're his size, you can kind of shit on kids. And then now the NBA, he's going up against Jokic and Embiid and Andre Drummond and these guys that are physically the same size as him. So he's more maybe then a little more intimidated. But I do want to ask you to touch on it real quick, because in defense of Ayton, I got to thinking once you started talking in that specific clip we just played, he might have been conscious or self-conscious or subconscious of a potential 3-second call, because he was deep in the paint. I don't know how long he had got there before, because that was just a quick 5-second clip. So I don't know how long he had already been hanging out in the paint. So maybe he was like, oh shit, I don't want to get this 5-second call. I'm just going to throw this quick hook up. And whether he was actually close to getting a 3-second or not, that could have been an idea in his head. I don't know. It could have been any number of things. Because like you said, there's a lot, as that happens so fast, but as basketball players, you are thinking about all those things. Like he was thinking about all the defenders. He probably was thinking about his time in the paint. He was thinking about trying to get a bucket. But at the end of the day, I would like to see him take all that into account and make the decision to take that one extra step in, not lower his shoulder, but go in and go up with a stronger attempt. But I want to, like we said, I want to say that it'll come in time. 23, 24, that's young relatively, but when it's your 5th season you're going into, you want to start to see those things develop by this time. And I think that could go to speak on why the Suns were hesitant to give him, especially the 5-year, let alone this contract that they have him on now. But like I said, when I was setting that up in that clip, Ayton does that hook, but then he goes back for the second attempt and tries to just tip it up and put it in. This is one of my gripe with big men, because I'm about 6 foot tall, kind of a guard, ish. You're a little bit taller for those who don't know. Mike's like 6'6", 6'7", I think. He grew up a guard, but then hit a growth spurt, and so now he's a forward center type in most leagues. But so he's like that prototypical stretch kind of guy. But so Mike, it drives me crazy when I see big guys just try and do the tip, and you play the tip game because it seems so easy, right? Because you're right there, so you're like, I can just tip it in. But I've seen big guys miss that shot just as much as they've made it. So I guess the guy, I probably already know your answer, but are you okay with him just trying to tip that in real quick, or do you want to see him like secure it, bring it down, and then go back up strong or reset after a miss like that?
I mean, for him, it's different for him, right? For me, I do have size, but I still am not like to the point where if I corral the ball and I bring it down a little bit, like there's going to be hands that can get in the way, right?
And it depends on your competition. Sorry to interject, but it depends on the competition. Like if you have a 6'1" guy guarding you in a rec league game, like obviously, yeah, tip that up all day. But no, keep going.
No, exactly. So it depends on differences. But I mean, he's a 7-footer, so he almost is like if he corrals the ball and comes down, as long as he keeps it high, his second jump doesn't have to be that much for him to literally be at the rim to be able to finish and flush, right? So It's different, right? Corralling for that large of a player is way different, and I understand. The one thing that a lot of basketball players are always taught is if you have second options, right, you always want to keep it high, and if you're by the basket, as soon as you get it, your first option should never be to put it on the floor or look to pass. It should always be to go up with it right away, right? But it does speak to what you're talking about, whereas it's a different case for 7-footers, man. He could corral it like exactly what you're saying. You don't have to like tip it right again. He can literally corral it with two hands, keep it above, come back down to the floor, be above everybody,
still keep it
and
high,
go up and finish right away again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand what you're saying. It's a better option. I've seen him do that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like in the flow of the game, especially if you're right there, you think that little touch, the little tip is going to be so easy.
Like, it's right there. Yeah.
It's right there. And then you just end up looking like a damn fool.
Right.
Unfortunately, that happened to me a lot today. I was struggling with the tip-ins, but I turned it around.
It happens, but I can imagine with you big guys too, especially on a tip-in, like I almost don't know, maybe like you almost don't know your own strength. Like you can put more juice on a tip-in than you intended real easily, just like any jump shot, really. But so no, I think that's a good point. Like I think there's a lot of that like fundamental basketball conventional thinking of like you said, keep it high, get it up. But then when you got to factor in these guys are super freak athletes, where I think Ayton does have a quick twitch where he could secure it, not bring it down and put it on the ground, but then go back up. And we're fucking breaking this down. And that's why me and Mike are talking about doing a basketball podcast where we really dissect things like this and play Monday morning point guard or whatever you want to call it. Because I love having these conversations. I'm a straight basketball nerd. I know Mike's a straight up hooper, and I think there's people out there that would appreciate it. So if you have any ideas for what we should call that podcast, please leave a comment and let us know. We're brewing it up, but we're probably going to do it in this kind of setting, just a live stream, chilled, laid back conversation. We'll probably try and bring people on, people we hoop with, people we connect with. Mike has some serious connections, but due to some professional obligations, we might not be able to speak to, or it looks like we won't be able to speak to some of those guys. But I'm not going to name any names, but there's some people in the Suns organization that we know. Mike was a former ball boy with the Phoenix Suns in the early 2000s.
Yeah, first year that Steve Nash came back, 2004, 2005.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to do with the basketball podcast as well. I mean, me and Chris both love the game so much and have been around it for so long and have different insights. We both coached youth basketball for, half a decade, and I finally got kind of back into it. We both are consistently still playing on weekends and, adult leagues and whatnot. And there's just so many different aspects to basketball where I understand that Valley Sports Plug is a Valley brand. And that's why we are always looking at what's going on with our local teams. But, I think it's a great opportunity to bring in some other people who have really, really cool stories to tell on the basketball stand front, and from AAU coaches, executive directors at the YMCA, people who are in touch with Valley sports and the basketball itself, where you
Yeah.
can start to see, what's going on really in the game, from a Valley standpoint, and not just the Suns. I mean, we'll always be talking about the Suns, obviously, because that's our team, that's our love, and we got to stay in tap with what's going on with them. But there's just so much more to the culture, that it's definitely something that I know that me and Chris have been talking about, trying to dive into a little bit more, just to expand the content and get some more people involved, because we really love doing this right now, and are excited to see what the future holds. But as far as some of those contacts at the Suns, I don't know. We just got to build this brand up, so in the future, those NDAs won't be worried about having their guys
right.
come on
We
to the
won't be.
pods. We probably can't
If
do the cussing as much.
Right.
That's all right. I can forfeit that for a night or two to have some good conversations.
Exactly. And I think it's totally doable. Like, whether it's, however many years or months or whatever down the road, if we get a brand going and we have a body of work, and because we're trying to be professional. Like, we're going to swear and have fun here, but we're trying to be professional as a podcast, sports entertainment, conglomerate, whatever the hell you want to call it. But we're just having fun. And I would love, like Mike said, I would love to have those conversations, because we know guys that played like college ball, like Mike said, coaching, youth basketball, and I don't know if many of you know this, just basketball in general in Arizona is massive. I want to say it's probably top 5 state for basketball, and I would even almost say top 3. I sent this out to Mike and everyone else. Kind of went under the radar, but in this last draft, 6 Arizona high school players were selected in the NBA draft, and that was the most of any state in the country. So, and that means they played high school here. It doesn't necessarily mean they were born here, but they played high school ball here, and then usually went out to a power school, like whether it's Duke or it doesn't matter where you play college ball. If this is where your AAU team or your high school team is located, and that's huge. So, to wrap up the plug for the future of our basketball endeavors, I just, like Mike said, we fucking love the game, and we want to get more content out for you guys. Mike pitched that to me, and I jumped right on it. So be on the lookout for that. Keep tuning into these live streams. Keep listening to the Heat Check podcast live. Let us know what you think. Honestly, if you leave a comment, especially while we're still growing and we're this small and have 2 viewers at any given time, you can be a part of the show. Matt commented earlier, and I just threw his comment up here, and we can say, and you can be a part of the conversation with us. It's awesome, and I love that, and I love when you guys interject, because it gives us stuff to talk about. So, like I said, wrapping up the plug, that's about it. Like, comment, hit the notification bell. We got Twitter and Facebook are probably the 2 main venues which you'll get all of the information as far as when we're doing these broadcasts and any updates we got. Mike is very active on the Valley Sports Plug Twitter, so get in an argument with him. He won't be shy to tell you why you're wrong on whatever you're upset about. Mike, I'm down to keep going here for a little bit. I did have one more comment I wanted to rant about / get your opinion on, if you're up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Perfect. It got me. I was listening when I was driving out to our runs this morning. I was listening to Bickley and Murata of 98.7, their Friday show. Listening to that back, and they had in their second hour Jeff Van Gundy on, and I don't know who he's broadcasting with, but he's was he a coach? Was Jeff a coach, or was it just Stan?
Jeff Van Gundy was the coach, I believe, for the Knicks in the 90s.
Okay.
Stan Van Gundy is the guy. He coached for
the Magic
Orlando. But yeah, I believe Jeff Van Gundy's with ESPN now. So he'll do broadcasts like with Mark Jackson and Mike Breen and a couple of those guys. So, I mean, he's a guy who's still in tap with the game for sure and knows what's
Yeah.
going on. But I can't wait to hear what he said because I don't know what this is about.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine it can be some kind of like old head comment that might that might just be, I don't know, way out of left field.
Yeah.
So let's
I
see
mean,
what you got.
he said a couple things that were, and the thing I'm primarily going to bring up, it just got me thinking of something else I've heard other places, so I'm not going to put what I'm mainly bringing up all on fuck, what is this?
Van Gundy?
Van Gundy, yeah,
Yep.
Jeff Van Gundy. Yeah, Jeff Van Gundy, Jesus. But he just had a lot of weird takes like that seemed kind of out of tune, and normally the Van Gundys, like, I think you like you said, like the Van Gundys are well known in the basketball world. I know Jeff always does the broadcast. I think he does playoff stuff, like you said, with ESPN. I've seen him do those analyst roles, and of course Stan being a coach. But getting to the point, Jeff said, I'll get to the point, but real quick, one of the things he said was that he didn't know who the Warriors could give up to get Kevin Durant. And he named everybody. He's like, James Wiseman. You give up James Wiseman, but who else? Like Andrew Wiggins. Like, did you forget Andrew Wiggins exists? Like, they could easily include that in a Durant package. I don't know why he wouldn't mention his name. So that just got me thinking, like, whatever. Anyway, the main point I'm bringing up is he talked about this ridiculous idea in my mind that the Suns would entertain a Devin Booker for Kevin Durant swap, straight up.
It literally can't be done.
Or it doesn't make any sense. Like, are you saying on paper it can't be done, or like
on paper it literally can't be done because of his contract extension that he signed, the Supermax? He cannot be traded for, I think it's a minimum of a year. So
really?
It cannot even be done right now. And why the fuck would you be
even a year
swapping
from now,
them when the whole reason is that Kevin Durant wants to come here to play with Devin Booker? I mean, what an asinine comment, but I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
That's a old man 3 sheets to the wind, I guess. I don't know.
Right. And it's like, maybe I know these guys, like, especially when you're trying to cover like the whole NBA, like he can't be in tune with exactly what's going on, but it's to say something like that, man. And I didn't want to, like I said, I didn't want to throw Jeff completely under the bus, but I agree, it's completely asinine. I've heard it suggested elsewhere and people floating that out there, like, oh, the Suns would have to give up Booker to get their Durant. Well, then what's the point? What's the point? No. We're going to keep our 26-year-old, 25-year-old superstar. We're not going to get a 34 for our 25-year-old.
Yeah, you would be sacrificing your entire future with that kind of a trade.
Especially when we just re-upped. And I think some of those rumblings were before we gave him the Supermax extension. So, but I still won't even give him any leniency for that because it's just stupid. We were always going to give him the Supermax extension. He's the face of the franchise. We're sitting here talking about him surpassing Larry Fitzgerald one day as a Valley icon, which I'm going to ride or die that's very possible. All the love for Larry. He's definitely a legend. He's the GOAT in the Valley, and I've loved that he sticks around too, and he's invested in the Valley, unlike Steve Nash, who just fucking ran away. Whatever. He doesn't owe us anything. I'm not saying he does, but I do like that Larry stuck around, and that's what's kind of cemented him as the legend in the Valley. But more to the point, just I'm glad you agree that that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. So I needed that validation that I'm not crazy.
Yeah, you're absolutely not crazy. I mean, that was the whole point. The whole point is that Kevin Durant wants to come to Phoenix. I don't think it's to play with Chris Paul. It's to play with Devin Booker. Because he's already gone on podcasts like the Old Man and the Three, JJ Redick's podcast, basically saying that Devin Booker is the guy that he likes to watch. He loves the change in his game that he's seen over this past couple of years, where obviously he's a guy who can be a high prolific scorer and is a great player, but his mentality in winning has changed, and that's all he cares about. Great players want to be around guys like that. So why the hell would you ever trade up a swap where you're basically giving up 10 years for one player to another? You can't swap Kevin Durant with Devin Booker and think that the Suns are going to be able to make a NBA Finals push any different than it would be if you just run back with the Suns with Devin Booker, right?
Right. Yeah.
Devin Booker is now a veteran in this league and still only 26 years old. was what, fourth in the MVP voting, has only continued to get better and grow his game. He's understanding the NBA game way better. He can get whatever he wants. I mean, you think back to that first round series against the Pelicans, he had 30 at halftime, and it looked like he was barely trying. That's a superstar and a guy who's only making strides and getting better.
True.
So, and here's the other thing too. There's been a lot of when you're in the league and you're in the limelight for so long, there's always a roller coaster, right? With Kevin Durant, people love him, people hate him. People hate him when he goes to Golden State. People love him when he kind of tries to create his own name for himself. People hate him when he's outspoken, but then people love him when he's going on Twitter and trolling everybody and that kind of stuff.
And having burner accounts. Yeah.
So there's just a continuous roller coaster with Kevin Durant. And Devin Booker, it seems like the only trajectory has been up. All of his philanthropy work that he's done in the Valley and the Sun, the millions of dollars that he's given, the loyalty that he's shown to the Valley, the way that he loves Arizona, the way that he has finally gotten the Suns to an NBA Finals berth the first time in 30 years almost. And now he's on the cover of 2K. He's probably going to be...
we didn't even mention that.
He's probably going to be the first player who is like an ambassador or a player exclusive player for Kobe brand under Nike. Like, do you understand? Do you understand the gravity of where Devin Booker is going? And to get rid of something like that, that's going to keep your team culturally in the limelight for the next decade, would be the dumbest fucking thing that you could ever do. And Jeff Van Gundy should not be coming on Valley Sports Radio to talk about anything with the Phoenix Suns moving forward, if that's the comment that he's going to make. And especially if it's something that happened this week. Bro, this Kevin Durant saga has been going on for like 3 weeks now, it seems like, and I don't even think it's that. But we know that this was never an option. We know that he can't be traded, swapped right up for that. Like, and I know what you're saying, where it's like, I know that these guys have a lot to deal with in regards to the entire NBA, right? But like, come on, bro. Like, this is probably one of the number one stories in the NBA offseason right now, is what's going on with Kevin Durant. And you don't know that you can't freaking trade Devin Booker for him? Like, come on, fam. What are we doing?
It's not his first rodeo. It's not his first time around the block.
Like, holy shit.
I just heard him say that. It was like in passing. He was like, well, or Devin Booker for Durant or something like that. And I'm like, no. And you made a lot of great points there. Cover a 2K. It real deep with Nike, heading towards being the first exclusive player in the Kobe brand when that launches. I'd love to see that. But you're looking at this, and probably Booker's probably top 10 jersey sale. Why would you give that up? I know Kevin Durant's another guy who's probably a top jersey seller and will put asses in seats. But when you look at the timeline, like, Devin Booker's got 10 years behind Durant. Like, Durant's only got so much time left. And I just couldn't believe I heard that. After I heard that, and then a couple of the other comments he made, I'm like, Jeff Van Gundy is making some boomer points here that I don't understand why he's on with these guys right now. And I imagine, like, Vince Marotta is a sharp guy. Dan Bickley is a sharp guy. Like, I hope on the break they were like, what the hell was Jeff saying there? Like, that's the dumbest shit. Like,
got some chuckles in.
At
Jeff's expense.
Expense.
It's tough, right? Like, when you put yourself out on a platform, and no matter how big or how small, you're putting yourself out for ridicule, right? Like, this is everything is takes, everything is opinions. But that's not an opinion. Devin Booker cannot be traded for a year because he signed the freaking Supermax deal. That's not even an option. So you can't come out and make statements like that.
But even without realizing that, it wouldn't work on paper. You realize that the Suns would never do that. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a brain dead take all around. Like, from the logistics of it, like you're pointing out, that I didn't even realize. Even before you pointed out the logistics, I thought it was the dumbest thing I heard all week. Like, and every time I had seen anyone bring it up, whether it's this week what Chris saw on Reddit or whatever social media platform where people are chiming in on this, creating their trade machines or whatever, Devin Booker is not part of that equation. He's staying in Phoenix. hopefully for his entire career if things keep trending in that direction, because he's only getting better and everyone else in the league's only getting older as it goes to the main people we've been talking about, Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, and the like. But I wanted to get that validation on that specifically. This has been great, man. We went long on Ayton and the Suns here. I might be needing to wrap this up here, but wanted to give you the floor if you had any last questions to pose or things to say.
Yeah, Twitter is at Arizona VSP, YouTube Valley Sports Plug. Please follow us on both of those. It's free of charge, and you can be part of our daily banter and be part of the show, man. That's what it's all about. Got to plug, man. Got to plug. Got to let the people know where they can find us. My socials is pretty much at Mike_Benjamin. Chris, you can plug your own stuff. Cody, does he even have a Twitter? I don't think he has a Twitter.
I don't think Cody has Twitter.
Only Instagram, which I think it's like Tallman_BSP, whatnot. But as the time goes on, we'll get all that kind of stuff buttoned down. Maybe throw up some stuff on the screen with our socials and whatnot. But
I'll put it in the description. I'll get it all in the description.
There you go.
And keep that going forward.
Yeah. I appreciate the conversation, Chris. It was definitely, I knew that we were trying to kind of get this set, especially after the Suns match DA. But I also think it's kind of good to kind of let things set in, see what happened. Maybe there was some other, rumblings that came out. Obviously now with the signing, it seems like the KD deal is maybe on hold for a little bit. And we'll have to see what the time frame looks like for that. But I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate you spending some time out here talking Valley sports once again. And I'm Gucci, man. That's it.
Hell yeah, man. Great outro. I really appreciate it, man. Of course, always love having you. Couldn't do it without you. I would just be some crazy rambling, ranting fool if you didn't ground me with these takes. So always a pleasure having you on. We'll get Tallman back on here. Like I said, we'll put all that in the description, everybody's handle for the various socials, and try and get that ship tightened up. But Mike, you nailed it. Follow us. I'm 1993 MFC on Twitter. I'll be heavy on the Facebook. I don't have an Instagram, so don't look for me there. I'm not there. But yeah, that's what I got, man. Until next time, I thank everyone who is watching with us during this live stream and anyone listening back. I hope you guys catch us on the next one, and we will see you then. Oh, shit. So I got to try and share this. My bad, guys. I'm trying to do this. Like I said, we're trying to be professional. Oh, wait. Oh, fuck. Guys. Yes, Mike, keep posing.
Can you see it? Phoenix fan? Yes,
I gotta share the audio. They need to hear the outro music.
Oh, play it, man. Play that.
Oh, no.
Play that. Shit.
Got to give the people what they want.